everyone, welcome to my first booktube video. My name is Millie and this is going to be my February reading wrap up. So for a little bit of an introduction about myself, I'm Waterstone's bookseller. I read a lot of books, hence my channel name. I've been running a bookstagram for nearly 3 years now. So last year in 2023 I read exactly 200 books. I'm hoping to be able to read a lot in 2024. We'll see how that goes. The books that I read in February were these. I also have a number of NetGalley books that I read as well, which I'll be talking about, but these were the physical books I read. In February I read a total of 15 books, which was 2 books less than what I read in January, where I read 17. It wasn't a great reading month for me, I have to say. I didn't have any 5-star reads, whereas I normally have at least 1 or 2 in a month. It's quite sad to not have any 5-star reads. I did read a few good books, however, so I will at least still get to talk about those ones even if they weren't 5 stars. There are also actually 3 books that I read in this month which were published by St Martin's Press, and as I'm participating in the boycott against them I won't be talking about those, so I'll be talking about 12 books in this wrap up. The first book that I read in February, which I actually finished on the 1st of February after starting it on the 30th, which was when it was released because I was so stressed about being spoiled for this book, was House of Flame and Shadow, the behemoth House of Flame and Shadow by Sarah J Maas. I have very mixed feelings about this book. I'm not sure that I loved the direction that this took. While it was a very quick read for me, there was just a lot that I felt like perhaps had been rushed in the writing of it. The ending felt very meh, considering how hyped up this book was and how excited everyone was and all the theories that were flying around about what was going to be involved in this book. It didn't really live up to those expectations. For me personally, I'm glad that it wasn't a complete crossover book, and I am glad that the majority of the story did focus on the Crescent City characters, on Bryce and Hunt and Rune, but the ending, it just felt very anticlimactic. The final battle felt very easy and convenient, and this didn't really spark any kind of emotional reaction. I don't want to talk too much more about it because obviously I know that considering how big it is and considering that it only came out a month ago-ish, I don't want to spoil it too much. It didn't quite live up to my expectations, I'll just say that. The next book I'm going to talk about is actually what was my favourite book of the month, and that was So Let Them Burn by Camilla Cole. So Let Them Burn is a Jamaican-inspired fantasy. It is set 5 years after an epic battle was fought, and we are now in the aftermath of this war, which is actually a very interesting way to start a book. Most fantasy books start before the epic battle, but to read one that starts after I think was both a very clever choice by the author to make her book stand out, but also was a really refreshing concept to read as someone who reads a lot of fantasy. This had a very interesting magic system that was really complex. This follows 2 sisters. One of the sisters, who is called Farron, can actually channel the power of the gods, and the other point of view, which is her sister Elara, she wants to join the army, much to the dismay of her sister Farron, and it actually turns out that she ends up bonding with a dragon. Now, the Dragon Riders are the enemies. Dragon Riders are part of the Langley Empire, and they are who the war was fought against. So we have both of the sisters' point of views. I really enjoyed both of theirs, and I just thought that this book was really incredible. Considering it's a debut as well, it's really fantastically well done. And I also love the scenes with the dragons, of course. I do think that we could have had more with them, so I'm hoping that in the next book we will get more scenes with the dragons. And also, now that I have my head wrapped around the fact that this is set after a war, hopefully I'll not read the second book feeling like I've missed something, which I did a lot in reading So Let Them Burn. The next book that I read was I Hope This Doesn't Find You by Anne Liang. This is the first Anne Liang book I've read, although I know that she does have, is it 2 more books out already so far? One of them I know is called If You Could See the Sun, something along those lines. I was really excited to read this when I first picked it up, and I was not let down. I ended up rating this 4 stars. This is a YA contemporary, and it is Academic Rivals to Lovers. I literally read this in one sitting. It was so quick and easy to read. I really enjoyed Sadie's perspective. You can think of this as To All the Boys I Loved Before, but if Lara Jean had written hate emails rather than love letters, which is a really fun concept. So Sadie writes all of these hate emails that she never sends. She saves them in her drafts and she never sends them out because she likes to be seen as perfect. She likes to be seen as the perfect student, the perfect friend, the perfect classmate. She never sends out these emails. She just writes them in frustration and calls people all sorts of names, completely eviscerates them. And then one day her emails are sent out, and a lot of them go to her academic rival, Julius Gong. He's basically her nemesis, and a lot of the emails she's written were addressed to him. So they now have to re-establish Sadie's reputation, and I just thought that this was so much fun. I could not put it down. It was really addictive to read, and Sadie's main character was really relatable because of how much she lives for academic validations. The next book that I read, which was on NetGalley, was Red String Theory by Lauren Kung Jessen. This is a adult romance. So this follows an artist called Rooney. She believes in signs, and she believes in the Chinese red string of fate, which says that you are connected by a red string to your true love. This belief has informed her career. So she creates art installations which are inspired by the red string of fate. Then we also follow Jack, who is a NASA engineer, I believe he was. So Jack and Rooney end up at, is it the same party? And they spend one night together in New York, wandering around, discovering restaurants, discovering hidden art. One of them ends up having the wrong number, so they can't actually talk to each other until 5 months later, when Rooney is hired by NASA as their in-house artist. Although I did like Rooney and Jack together, I didn't feel that they had that much chemistry, which was unfortunate. I feel like I would have been just as satisfied by the ending of the book as if they'd ended up as friends, as if they'd ended up romantically together. Then I picked up and read in one sitting Bride by Ali Hazelwood. This has been one of my most anticipated releases of the year. I really enjoy Ali Hazelwood's books, even if they do follow a kind of formula. I absolutely loved Love Theoretically when I read it last year, and I also recently read her YA debut, Check and Mate, which was really fantastic as well, so I was very excited to pick this up. This is a paranormal romance between a werewolf and vampire who have to enter into an arranged marriage in order for there to be peace between their two species. Bride was a very, very fun read, and I really enjoyed it, so I'm very excited to see what Ali Hazelwood comes out with next, because the ending of this does indicate that there will be at least a companion book. I'm very excited for that. Then I read a book which has been on my TBR for a while, and this is actually on my 24 books to read in 2024 list. That is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I don't really know what to say about this. I don't feel that this is a book that I can really do justice by summing it up. It probably wasn't one of my favourite books I've ever read. A lot of that is because of how long the chapters are. I mean, the last chapter, there are 8 chapters in this book. It's over 600 pages long. And the last chapter is about 150 pages long, something like that. And I was just losing my patience. I did enjoy the mystery aspect of it, but I definitely preferred the first half to the second half. I then read The Fox Maidens by Robin Ha. This is a graphic novel, so this is set in very early Korea. It is about a girl who wants to join the military, but she's not allowed to because women are not meant to do that. While I did enjoy this graphic novel, I don't think that it was possibly edited very well. I think that it definitely needed another round of proof edits. I mean, I did read a proof edition, so it's possible that things have changed in the final copy, but the last chapter of this book just felt completely disjointed to the rest. It was basically telling a completely different story to the rest of the book, and I just didn't enjoy it that much. I think I rated it 3 stars. I then read another romance because I was in such a romance mood after reading this heavy book. And so I decided to pick up the first book in the Chestnut Spring series by Elsie Silver, which is Flawless. This is a cowboy romance, which isn't something that I would normally reach for. As someone from the UK, we don't really have anything to do with cowboys or rodeos, so I couldn't really tell you whether that aspect of this is accurate at all, but I did enjoy it. I enjoyed the chemistry between the two characters, and I've heard that the next book in the series is the best one, so I'm very excited to get to that at some point. I rated this 3.5 stars. I then read my worst book of the month, which is very unfortunate because I actually thought that I was going to really love this one, and that is The Breakup Tour by Emily Whibley and Austin Sigmund Broker. I don't even know where to begin with this. First of all, you can tell I'm a Swiftie. I'm wearing my Taylor Swift merch while filming this. I'm wearing my 1989 jumper. The Breakup Tour is essentially pitched as a Taylor Swift inspired romance. And while it is inspired by Taylor Swift, I do believe it was written by people who don't actually like her that much, which is awkward. It seems to deal a lot with the stereotypes of Taylor Swift. The main character, Riley, who is the singer-songwriter who is going on her big tour after she's written this album, which features one song for each of her exes. So it's a breakup album, and she's going on this tour, touring this album, and she invites her first love, I think they were first loves, Max, to play the piano for the song that she wrote for him. I just felt that this felt like it was written by somebody who does believe that all Taylor Swift does is write breakup songs. And that's not to say her breakup songs aren't incredible, but that's not all that she does. It's not all that she writes or sings about. I don't know. It felt like it was capitalising on Taylor Swift's success without actually enjoying her work or liking her, so this wasn't great for me. I also just didn't feel that there was any chemistry between the two characters. I couldn't understand why Max would want to get back with Riley. She was not very nice to him at all. I then picked up a YA contemporary that I've had on my shelves for a while, which is The Ghost We Keep by Mason Diva. This follows a non-binary teen whose brother has just passed away in a car accident. I rated this 3 stars. This was good, but it wasn't emotional like I've seen a lot of people saying that they thought it was. A lot of people saying that they were like breaking down over this book, that they were getting really emotional about it, and I just didn't feel anything. So I don't know if that was just a me thing. I do have Mason Diva's other book, Wish You All the Best, on my shelves, which I will still read. I just don't think that this one was for me, unfortunately, which is sad because it's got a really nice cover, and books about grief are generally something that I do tend to enjoy, so I'm not sure what happened here. The final physical book that I read in February was The City of Stardust by Georgia Summers. This was the Fairy Loot January adult pick, so it's a very beautiful edition, and I was really excited to finally pick this up. There's an adult fantasy which is set partly in our world and also partly in other worlds, as there are keys to travel between worlds which are held by scholars. This follows Violet, whose mother disappeared 10 years ago, and there is a generational curse following the Everly family. What I really liked about this book was how lyrical the writing was. It's perfect for fans of Erin Morgenstern. It was very lyrical, very beautiful, and while I didn't end up thinking that this was a 5-star read, I did really enjoy it a lot, and I am really excited to see what comes next from this author. The final book I read, which was on NetGalley, was Heart Song by TJ Klune. That is the 3rd book in the Green Creek series, which follows a pack of werewolves. Starts with following Ox and Joe. Then we have the 2nd book, Raven Song, which follows Gordo and Mark, and this book followed Robbie and Kelly. So each book is connected but follows a different couple with different point of view. What I really love about TJ Klune's books is that they always have such amazing banter. The chemistry between all of the characters is always incredible, and you can really feel like these characters love each other and you end up loving them too. While Heart Song wasn't my favourite instalment in the series, I do think that that honour still belongs to Wolf Song, the 1st book. I did end up rating this 4 stars, so I did still end up really enjoying this. I do think that we needed a little bit of background information. This book dives right in. I know that I say background information when this is the 3rd book in a series, but we dive right in, and I felt like I had completely forgotten the events of the 2nd book, Raven Song, because I didn't have a clue what was going on. Robbie was in a completely different place to where we'd left him in Raven Song. He was back with Michelle and Robert Livingstone, and I just didn't understand where we'd got to. I felt like I'd completely missed something. And it turns out I hadn't. this was part of the plot, but I spent the first 150 pages of this book just so confused as to what was going on. And until I realised this was actually part of the plot and I hadn't missed something and I didn't need to have gone back and reread Ravensong, I didn't end up enjoying this as much as I would have done if I'd known what was going on a bit more. So that was unfortunate, because I do think that this might have ended up being possibly my favourite book, possibly even a 5-star read if it hadn't been for that. Now I'll get into the stats of the month. I obviously didn't have any 5-star reads. I had 2 4.5 stars. I had 7 4-star reads, I had 3 3.5-star reads, 2 3-star reads, and 1 2-star read. So we're kind of in the middle for the month. We didn't have any extreme lows, didn't have any 1 stars, we didn't have any extreme highs, we didn't have any 5 stars. It's kind of a mid-month. I don't really know what happened. Unfortunately, I just didn't completely, absolutely love any of the books I read. I read 6,392 pages in February across 15 books. I read 14 novels and 1 graphic novel. I read 9 books physically and 6 books on NetGalley. I read 9 adult books and 6 YA books with no middle grade or new adult books read. 10 books were standalones and 5 books were either starting a series or continuous series. I did finish 1 series in February, however this series is part of the boycott of St Martin's Press, so I won't be mentioning that, but I did manage to finish 1 series, which, you know, considering I have over 40 series that I'm in the middle of, it's not bad. We're getting through them slowly but surely. And all of the books I read were fiction, which is pretty normal for me. I don't really tend to read any non-fiction books. It's just not really my sort of thing. I hope that you enjoyed my February wrap-up. I hope that March will be a better reading month for me. The book that I'm currently reading, I do predict to be a 5-star read, and there is one more book that I know that I'm going to read in March, which, if it isn't a 5-star read, there's something seriously wrong. I hope you're having a lovely day, and I will see you at another time. Thank you very much for watching, and subscribe if you want to. Bye!